let me take you back in time to May 16th, 2011. I was 23 years old, standing in a Burger King parking lot. It's here that I said goodbye to my wife and children and got in a van headed for the nearest MEPS, or Military Entrance Processing Station, where I would swear an oath to the Constitution of the United States and begin my career in the military. It was this very same day that one of the greatest indie sandbox games of all time would be released, a game that would impact my life nearly as much as the military has. That game is Terraria. I have a lot of good things to say about this game, and I certainly will in this video, but it wouldn't be reasonable for me to title a video the way I did and then just say good things about Terraria, so I need to make this personal. In the off chance that you have not yet heard my story, this is my daughter Allison. She died by suicide 2 years ago. She was 13. I still get a lump in my throat and a knot in my stomach just by writing this. Though all loss is valid and warrants grief, the loss of a child to suicide is one of the cruelest experiences a human can endure in this life. I've spent many days since her passing sitting with a darkness that I never could have imagined possible. I started this channel with the hopes that it would help me process some of my grief, and it has, but it's also grown into something far beyond my wildest expectations, reaching thousands of people all over the world. I sit down at my computer every day and think, wow, this is so cool. I've talked about Terraria and how special it is to me in more than one piece of work, and I've even played it during my live streams. But I've come to realize that this game deserves its own dedicated video. I don't just want to talk about how objectively great this game is. It's time to peel back a layer and share how this masterpiece of a game has helped me through what will undoubtedly be the darkest days of my life. It's time to give Terraria its flowers. Welcome to Gaming with Grief. One of the hardest aspects of writing this video, aside from how emotional it is, has been organizing my thoughts. There is so much I want to say about Terraria. It's a struggle to find my footing to even begin. I suppose I should start by at least briefly explaining what this game is and how it began. Terraria was developed by Andrew Spinks, aka Redigit, and his team of programmers and artists now known as Redigit. The game is broadly labeled as an action-adventure, though to me it fits into many categories. For starters, it's a quintessential sandbox game, with its sprawling, procedurally generated worlds and complex resource gathering and crafting cycles. Terraria also has what I would call RPG elements, with an intentional focus on raising health, magic, and creating weapon and armor loadouts for dedicated classes. And it is, without a doubt, a 2D platformer, though we aren't talking about something to the level of, say, Super Mario. When someone who has had zero exposure to Terraria asks me to describe it, my knee-jerk response is almost always, it's like 2D Minecraft, though I must immediately caveat this by explaining that there is much more to it than that. While the parallels between the two games do indeed run deep, and there is a strong mutual respect between Mojang and Redigit, Terraria doesn't strive to emulate Minecraft or ride its coattails in any way. Of its own accord, the game currently has 64 million copies sold, making it the 7th highest selling game of all time. To me, Terraria's massive success stems from a few reasons. Number one, the game has been released on multiple platforms, including PC, mobile, and nearly every console as far back as the PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, Wii U, and even the 3DS. This broad release tactic ensures that as many people have access to the game as possible. Number two, the game is still being actively fixed and updated. That's right, Red and his dedicated team are still pouring time, energy, and love into a nearly decade-old game, never charging for DLC or even raising the game's base price. This type of passion is rarely seen by AAA developers, and is a clear demonstration of why the indie gaming market is beginning to soar above the giants. I fully expect to see this trend continue. Number 3, Redigit supports mods. That's right, unlike certain big game companies, the devs actively support modifications to their game. Anyone who purchases a copy of Terraria via Steam has free access to the aptly named T-Mod Loader, a secondary application that allows all creators to add endless gameplay value to the vanilla game. From minor vanity and quality of life changes to complete gameplay overhauls, mods offer a ton of customization and replayability. There are over 10,000 mods and counting. Lastly, the game is just good damn fun. Like, seriously, I used to take PTO days to stay home and play this game. Terraria just has so many aspects that it does incredibly well. Feeling creative? Build a sprawling base or a cozy cottage. Feeling curious? Go explore that new biome and see what's there. Feeling adventurous? Dig down in search of rare treasures or try to beat that next boss monster to see what rare loot they drop. As fun as Terraria is to play alone, it is an S-tiered multiplayer game, but I'll talk more about that later in the video. While the world of Terraria certainly has its lore, it is by no means a story-driven experience. There is no long introductory cutscene or expository dialogue. All the player really has in this area is exploring the world and the bits and pieces of conversation from the game's NPCs. Thusly, I'll loosely summarize the average playthrough experience, but won't be, quote, telling the game's story as I do in other videos in this series. So you create a character, hop into a world, and boom, there you are. With only 3 tools in your possession, a pickaxe, axe, and short sword, you quickly discern that you should begin gathering resources and constructing a shelter. The game's crafting menu is beautifully simple. No arranging resources in specific patterns or unintuitive menus to navigate. Just open your inventory and boom. If you have the resources and the crafting station, you can create. The game even starts you off with a guide companion, a walking wiki page that will tell you what any item you have can be crafted into. So you cut down some trees, gather some wood, build the same box-shaped house as everyone else, and inevitably spend the night cowering inside of it while zombies knock on your door. Sounds about right for a sandbox game. Luckily, you don't have to wait long until the sun rises and that group of smelly walkers decides to vacate. Terraria's time system equates 1 in-game minute to 1 real-world second, meaning a full 24-hour day in-game takes 24 minutes. Personally, I think this is about as good as video game time can get. Another beloved game of mine, Stardew Valley, uses 8 seconds of real time for 10 minutes of in-game time. Though I don't really mind this conversion, days always start at 6 AM and end at 2 AM whether you like it or not. I understand that this time and date structure is critical to how Stardew works, but it's also very restrictive to the player. I never get everything done in a day that I want to and always find myself rushing home early to avoid the penalty of not jumping in bed before 2 AM. On the other side of the spectrum, you have games like the Animal Crossing series, which run in real time. The time of day and seasons change in-game relative to how they do in the real world. A tree planted in Animal Crossing will take days of real-world time to grow and bear fruit. Your animal friends will even celebrate your real birthday, if you play Animal Crossing on your birthday like I do. Don't judge me. Again, this may work just fine for this series, but I feel like Terraria really found a great balance with its in-game time system. There are still time-driven events like weather, hordes of enemies, and trees growing, but you as the player have options to manipulate time like magic sundials or sleeping in beds to play as you like. I appreciate the fact that it's structured but unrestrictive. Stepping back out into the world, you can choose to explore in any direction you like, though walking left or right are usually the paths of least resistance at first. Terraria wastes no time showing the player that its world is more vast and diverse than the semi-peaceful forest in which they started. There are deserts, jungles, tundra, beaches, and many, many, many more. Each biome offers its own set of enemies, hazards, and rewards. You may even end up with multiple instances of the same biome depending on the size of your world and its generation. Though you may be tempted to keep to the safety and familiarity of the surface, the game generates many natural caves that subtly entice you to begin spelunking. A general rule in video games is darker and scarier places have more dangers but better treasures, and Terraria is no exception to this. Players are rewarded for cautiously exploring the game's underground with goodies like rare accessories, ores for crafting weapons and armor, and life crystals which permanently raise your health, much like heart containers in the Zelda series. Before long, you'll start to feel how I imagine Sam Sulek feels walking into an empty gym, just a giant king ready to crush everything in front of you. You get a few hearts, find some better weapons and accessories, and craft yourself a nice set of armor. Those once terrifying zombies that you relentlessly had to poke with a stick now feel like they're made of paper mache. And it's usually around this time that Terraria introduces another one of its features: bosses. Bosses in Terraria are an event in and of themselves. They range from larger, enhanced versions of common monsters to creatures of overwhelming might and magnitude. Bosses have a wide array of strengths, weaknesses, and fighting tactics. For instance, the Eater of Worlds is a multi-sectioned worm that is more vulnerable to weapons that can pierce multiple targets. The mechanical bosses resist many debuffs like poison, which may cause the player to change their intended weapon. Sometimes the key to defeating a boss is less about your equipment and more about your arena, making it worthwhile to spend a few minutes laying down platforms and campfires to increase your movement options and health regeneration. Most bosses also have phases, changing their attack patterns when reaching certain health thresholds. Certain bosses can gate the player's progress, dropping ores and materials needed to progress in the world. Some bosses only spawn when very specific conditions are met or during events. Many bosses are completely optional. Regardless of a boss's hierarchical status, all bosses drop rare items that can be very useful to the player and are often worth the trouble of defeating. Speaking of worth the trouble, we need to talk about Terraria's graphics, which have been heavily improved during its nearly decade-long tenure. The game used to look like this. Now it looks like this. This constant refinement is one of many testaments to the devs' work ethic. Like Minecraft, Terraria has a very intentional, low-res sort of art style, one that is perfectly suited for a game that is played this way. It's reminiscent of the 16-bit games of the 90s, a respectful nod to the games I grew up with that were so influential to the entire industry. In fact, Terraria's character sprites were originally modeled from Final Fantasy V's battle sprites. It's no secret that the Final Fantasy series was, in many ways, the developer's visual muse, but if you want to see how truly deep that rabbit hole goes, check out ChippyGaming's channel. He is a veteran Terrarian with a wealth of knowledge on the subject, and I would be doing him a disservice by simply regurgitating his words. I'll leave a link to his channel in the video description. While Terraria does not boast cutting-edge graphics by any measure, it does what it does very well. Pixel art is crisp and unambiguous while maintaining its charm. Light casting and particle effects are done extremely well, which is critically important for a game that revolves around exploring dark caves. All weapons, armors, and accessories have unique sprites and change the player's appearance. Blocks can be shaped with a hammer or painted with a paintbrush. Bugs and animals populate the various biomes, making the world feel alive. Trees and grass sway in the breeze. I sometimes find myself stopping gameplay to just stare at the sky, looking for a cloud to take a funny shape or an enemy sprite zipping by in the background. It's everything the SNES did for us in 1994 and more. Boy, it sure would stink if this were one of those games that looked really good but didn't have the music to match. Lucky for us, that's not the case. Terraria's music is good. It's very good. But it's not the easiest soundtrack to describe sonically. I do my best in these videos to dissect and explain video game OSTs, but aside from a few years of very novice drumming, I do not have a musical background or formal education. Please bear with me. Terraria's soundtrack was created by Scott Lloyd Shelley, an American composer who has also worked on the Legacy of Kain series as well as the Crocodile Hunter TV show of all things. Okay. Shelley's unique musical stylings really shine through in Terraria and add tremendous value to the game's identity. I jokingly want to say that Terraria's music is a bunch of beeps and boops that sound cool, but that would be doing it an extreme disservice. It's a heavily synthesized body of work, falling somewhere between chiptune and orchestral. Shelley avoids simple melodies, a decision that I feel was correct as it really helps keep the songs from going stale. He also demonstrates a depth of musical knowledge, confidently genre blending electronic, rock, dance, ambient, and even jazz elements. I hold him in the same very high regard that I do other indie game musicians like Eric Baroni, Toby Fox, and Lena Raine. Every event, biome, and boss battle are accompanied by unique tracks that set an appropriate tone for whatever's happening. The first track you will likely hear when starting the game for the first time is simply titled Day, a bright, uplifting tune that perfectly captures the spirited optimism of a new adventure. No matter how many times I play this game, this song brings me back in time nearly a decade, sitting on the floor, Wii U gamepad in hand, eager to see what today's session will deliver. This track is a tug-of-war between synth notes and melodic strings, both of which strike a beautiful balance and set the tone for the adventure ahead. I also really appreciate that Terraria immediately shows the player that its music is a little less traditional than one might expect from a video game. As your first day in Terraria fades away into night, the music transitions accordingly. While the game's night theme is still a back and forth of synth and strings, that bright optimism of day has drifted into a quiet wanderlust. This is one of a few tracks that I would describe as cosmic sounding, evoking that powerful feeling that the night can bring. Everything is dark and unknown, but you somehow feel safe under that blanket of stars. Don't let this wonderful track lull you into a false sense of security, however. New Terrarians should take great care if venturing out at night. One of my all-time favorite tracks is Mushrooms, the track that plays when visiting an underground glowing mushroom biome. The song is kooky, psychedelic, a little chaotic, and a lot of fun. Shelley really understood the assignment on this one. Though I always get excited when I find one of these biomes as they're often loaded with gold chests and life crystals, I find myself lingering even after all my pillaging is complete just to jam this song for a few extra minutes. It's hard for me to choose a favorite boss theme, but if I really had to, I think it would be Plantera's theme. This is one of the game's tracks that really leans into rock and metal, genres that I've gravitated towards my entire life. To me, this song sounds like a jungle-themed nu metal song from the early 2000s. A heavy, chugging guitar riff is peppered over that classic synthesized jungle theme. It's the perfect backdrop for the first time you see Plantera ominously lurching into frame, and is sure to dial your adrenaline to an 11 during the fight. In summation, Terraria's soundtrack is wildly unconventional but oddly appropriate. It has enough quirkiness to be charming without ever getting stale or feeling repetitive. Do yourself a favor and play this game with a good pair of headphones. You won't regret it. So after beating a few bosses and exploring many of the game's more far-reaching areas like the Sky Islands and Dungeon, players will eventually find themselves in the Underworld. This literal hellscape houses some of the early game's deadliest enemies and unforgiving terrain. Obsidian structures jut out from the endless pool of lava below. Imps teleport and shoot fireballs at you that can pass through solid blocks, making it difficult to find cover. Perhaps the most dangerous of all of these is the Wall of Flesh, a boss that many new players will discover accidentally. When a demon carrying a voodoo doll of the guide is slain, it will drop the doll. If this doll falls into lava while the guide is alive, he is sacrificed and the Wall of Flesh is summoned. This towering amalgamation of meat, eyes, and teeth chases the player through the underworld. There is no escape, but players who manage to defeat it will change their world forever. With an ominous message stating that the powers of light and dark have been released, we quickly find that our world is forever altered. Welcome to Hard Mode. The Wall of Flesh drops a new tool called the Pwn Hammer, a blessed instrument that lets you destroy the mysterious and previously impervious demon altars. While breaking them blesses the world with rare ores that can be gathered and crafted into powerful new weapons, armors, and tools, be forewarned. Breaking the altars also summons wraiths, dark translucent enemies that phase through walls and can take far more damage than the enemies you're used to. The game wastes no time in demonstrating to the player that the training wheels are off. Hard mode is where Terraria truly begins, in my opinion. Like many of the Legend of Zelda games, the entire world changes once you cross a certain threshold of game progression. This change is spherical rather than linear. Though the aforementioned ore grind in early hard mode boasts fairly standard game progression, Terraria has dropped so much more on the player's lap than what first meets the eye. Each biome offers new or revamped enemies, some of which can kill a player in a few hits, even if adorned in the same armor that was used to defeat the wall. The newly created Hallowed biome boasts colorful trees, pink waterfalls, and rainbow backdrops. The world's evil biome now begins to spread, forcing you to take action lest you want your world to be swallowed whole by the Crimson or corruption. Many enemies drop powerful new materials like souls, allowing you to craft game-changing accessories like wings. Many new and very difficult enemy events are hard mode exclusives. solar eclipses, Martian and pirate invasions, and pumpkin moons, just to name a few. After more exploration and progression, players are faced with Hardmode's first true challenge, defeating the mechanical bosses. The three mechs, the Destroyer of Worlds, the Twins, and Skeletron Prime, are overhauled versions of pre-Hardmode's Eye of Cthulhu, Eater of Worlds, and Skeletron, respectively. Not only are the mechanical bosses stronger and have greater HP, they also behave differently than their pre-Hardmode counterparts. This is Terraria's way of showing you that game progression isn't just about getting stronger. Players will have to get creative and explore new tactics in order to find success. Defeating all three mechanical bosses allows you to craft the Pickaxe Axe. As the name suggests, this pickaxe and axe combo tool allows you to mine chlorophyte, a powerful green ore that grows deep in the jungle. Players who are enticed by this prospect may also be rewarded with life fruit, consumables that raise your max health beyond what life crystals can. The jungle also houses the final two mandatory bosses before the endgame, Plantera and Golem. With a sizable arena, Plantera is a bit of a pushover. And though the traps in his temple are annoying, Golem is one of Terraria's most bullyable bosses. But after these two are defeated, the game takes yet another surprising turn. One that, again, it gives you really no heads up. Your townspeople do not discuss the magnitude of what lies ahead. There isn't so much as an in-game message to warn you about it. But this is it. We're in the endgame now. Returning to the entrance of the dungeon, we now find mysterious cloaked figures worshipping some sort of glowing sigil. So much as bumping into them provokes them into attacking. It becomes quickly apparent that their leader, the lunatic cultist, is far more powerful than the rest, flying into the air and assaulting the player with a barrage of elemental magic. Defeating the cultist initiates the game's final event, the Celestial Pillars. 4 towering pillars can now be found strewn about the world's surface, each representing one of the 4 main classes. The Solar Pillar, drenched in flame and guarded by foot soldiers, represents the warrior. The Vortex Pillar, surrounded by lightning and flying enemies that can manipulate gravity, represents the ranger. The Nebula Pillar, cloaked in darkness and protected by brain sucklers, represents the mage. And the Stardust Pillar, with its army of swift dragons and stardust cells, represents the summoner. Conquering each of the pillars will grant fragments, rare materials that can be used to craft endgame weapons and armor. But the pillars are also the 4 keys that unlock the door to Terraria's final boss, the Moonlord. The Moonlord is perhaps the most Cthulhu-inspired of all Terraria's monsters. A behemoth that takes up nearly the entire screen, the Moonlord is a squid-like humanoid with multiple eyes, an exposed brain, and no lower body. He's bizarre, frightening, and even a little grotesque, a stark contrast to how our adventure in Terraria began. I like that Relogic didn't play it safe and leaned a little into the occult. It really gives the game an added layer of personality. After chipping away at the Moonlord's eyes, dodging his phantasmal death rays, and delivering the finishing blow to the Titan's heart, he explodes in a flash of light and falling scraps. Congratulations, you've beaten Terraria. As the credits roll, a wave of pride and relief washes over you. All that time mining ore, scouring the wiki, and dying time after time after time, you have conquered the game's ultimate challenge. Even though I've spent hundreds of hours playing Terraria and beaten it at least 20 times, I can't help but appreciate the experience and admire this game's endless creativity and charm. As I've suggested throughout this video, your Terraria experience doesn't have to end here. You can keep pushing forward, optimizing your base or crafting the ultimate endgame sword, the Zenith. You can start a new game in Expert or Master mode to truly test your might, or Journey mode if you're feeling creative. And even if you don't find yourself interested in exploring T-Mod Loader and all it has to offer, Relogic offers players many creative and challenging special worlds that can be generated by inputting specific seeds. Another amazing thing about Terraria is the community of fans and content creators it's amassed over the years. Basically every video game has some degree of fandom, but I really feel like the Terraria community is a special one. It's more than just people who like to play Terraria. There is a degree of mutual respect among those attracted to this game's charm. I feel like I've highlighted Terraria's many gameplay mechanics throughout this video, and it's this wide array of playability Terraria does so well that has garnered its massive following. It's been my experience that this community has been generally positive and uplifting, We like Terraria for what it is. There is little pride or elitism here. There are many YouTube creators far bigger than me who produce great Terraria content, so many that I would be a fool to sit here and try to list them all. But there is one gentleman that I absolutely cannot forgo mentioning: WaffleTime. Anyone who regularly consumes Terraria content on YouTube has probably heard of WaffleTime. Though he does not make Terraria videos exclusively, the bulk of his content focuses on both the vanilla game as well as Tmod Loader. His wit is quick, and his humor, though a little crass at times, never fails to make me laugh. With over 500,000 subscribers on YouTube, Waffle has done so much for the Terraria community that the devs even added an in-game weapon in his honor. I think that's pretty cool. After my daughter died, I struggled to find any movies, TV shows, or online content that were able to distract me from my grief. There were so many reminders everywhere I turned. It was a struggle to give anything any degree of attention for any amount of time. But it was shortly after that I discovered WaffleTime's channel and found myself not only distracted, but laughing. While I'm not claiming that this man single-handedly helped me find joy in my life, he did help me turn an important corner in the early stage of my grieving process. And the guy is just more than a silly Terraria YouTuber. He's a solid dude. Though I don't think we're close enough for me to be able to call him a friend, we've connected in a very impactful way, and he's shown a lot of kindness to both me and my son. He's one of a few people like Madular who have not only inspired me to become a YouTuber myself, but also use the platform to try to do a little bit of good in the world. I'll leave the link to WaffleTime's channel in this video description, and I encourage you to go check out his work if you like Terraria. And to Waffle, thanks for being a good human, brother. Okay, so I feel I've spent enough time talking about this game's roots, nuts and bolts, charm, and its community. Let's talk about why you're probably still watching this video. How Terraria saved my life. My daughter's death was the most traumatic experience of my life. I can't even really put it into words. When my son and I found her body and I realized what she had done, a painful, paralyzing wave of terror washed over me. My physical strength left my body. My mind emptied. I could barely speak. I literally felt my heart break inside my chest. It was an experience that changed me in irreparable ways, and one that I would not wish upon my worst enemy. Though over 2 years have passed, I can still very easily close my eyes and return to those terrible early days. Everyday activities like taking a shower or making a sandwich felt like impossible tasks. I distinctly remember thinking, oh, my life is over. I won't ever heal from this. I won't ever be normal again. This is just how things are now. And I was correct to a degree. There is a part of grief that stays with you no matter how much time passes or positive experiences come your way after. But grief does change. You do eventually start to rebuild. And a major catalyst in my journey of reconstruction was, of all things, Terraria. That's right, for whatever reason, this was the first game I was able to sit and play after my daughter's passing. It took several weeks before anything could keep my attention for more than a minute or two, but Terraria was able to softly grasp my broken heart and pull me in a positive direction. My son and I sat and played it together, actually. It was slow at first. Play for a few minutes, stop to lie down or cry, repeat. It was like rhythmically falling in and out of a nightmare. But we kept at it, progressing a little at a time. Soon we were playing for an hour, then 2. Slowly but surely, many of my cognitive skills returned. I was able to read and retain information. I was able to gather and sort my thoughts. I was able to recognize when grief was asking for attention and give it what it needed. If nothing else, us playing Terraria together was the heartfelt bonding experience we needed to support each other and heal. That quality time was paramount. The more I reflect on it, the more I realize Terraria was the perfect game for this, and for many of the reasons I've already discussed in this video. It's a simple, straightforward game whose mechanics don't get buried by some arbitrary or needlessly complicated story. It doesn't strive to look or sound like reality. Rather, it's a respectful tip of the cap to the games I grew up with, games that make me feel like I'm 10 years old again. Terraria taps into my creativity. Terraria pulls me out of my head. But most importantly of all, Terraria makes me feel safe. It doesn't seem to matter how many hours I put into this game. Sitting down to play it always feels like meeting up with an old friend. Let me be clear, Terraria is not the only game to evoke these feelings. The gentle, safe glow of nostalgia extends from other games like Zelda, Pokemon, Stardew Valley, Mario, and Mystical Ninja, just to name a few. All of these franchises have a special place in my heart, but there is no substitute for Terraria, and I don't think there ever will be. Other games have made respectable attempts, but always fall short of recapturing the magic that Red and Company did with this game. The entire Gaming with Grief series was founded on this very idea, that video games offer asylum from the harshness that life can throw at us. It's a comfort, a distraction, and a platform for unity and healing. If you've watched this video for this long, you too have likely resonated with this notion. You've also been through some dark or difficult time in your life and found some degree of healing in video games. I find so much beauty in the ways in which gaming seems to bring people together. It doesn't matter your age, background, or beliefs. Video games allow us to set down these parts of ourselves and just be who and what we want. Very few other hobbies seem to bring this many people together in such a harmonious way. This is how Terraria saved my life. It fell into my lap when I was at my absolute lowest point. It seeped into the cracks of my broken heart and found a way to coax me forward in life. It's a game that I'm certain my son and I will revisit together until the two of us are too old to play it anymore. If you also have a fondness for Terraria, I'm sure you understand. And if you've never played Terraria, give it a try. You too may find some small comfort in this game as millions of others have. To Red and the entire Relogic team, thank you for blessing the world with this game and continuing to pour endless effort and energy into it. I promise that the net good you are doing for the world is truly worth it, and thank you for saving my life. And to you, the viewer, I appreciate you watching this video all the way through. Your support means more to me than ever, especially with the current state of the world and the new challenges I'm facing as a creator. I need it now more than ever. If you're not already subscribed to the channel, consider hitting that button. It's the best way to help me reach more people and doesn't cost you anything. Thanks for watching. As always, please take care, and you know what? I'll let Waffle say it.
And remember, ladies and gentlemen, to always, always love yourself.